I've made tens of thousands of cold calls across B2B and B2C sales. I've broken them down into 4 different pillars. So you've got the psychology of cold calls, you've got tonality being more weighted across from words, human behavior, and then mindset. So we'll start with the psychology of cold calls. Sales is 80% about your psychology and 20% about the actual script. People decide within the first 5 seconds if they're actually going to trust you on the call. Prospects don't hate cold calls, they hate the pressure that comes with it. Now, your emotion becomes their emotion, and that's called emotional mirroring. So what I mean by that is if you're being angry, the person that you're talking to is going to be angry as well. If you're being sad, the person you're talking to will be empathetic, right? Everyone, this is like a human tendency that is come from Chris Voss. When you mirror someone, they feel safe, like you're aligned with them, which I've read in the book, Never Split the Difference. It was recommended to me by one of my first managers, one of the best books I've read. Now, curiosity beats persuasion every time. There's no doubting that by any means. Being curious on a cold call and wanting to know the next thing or digging deeper into their pain is so prevalent and not enough people are doing it. We need to stop selling and start selling, as Zig Ziglar would say. Most objections are more about their time, right? And time protection, not real resistance. People typically just brush us off as salespeople, and it's our job to keep them talking on those calls. And that's where tonality has such a big weighting compared to the actual words and the script that we're following on most calls. Now, we need to be sounding more neutral rather than excited, right? Being excited on a deal can kill it entirely because it sounds very desperate on the cold calls. When you're trying too hard, people can feel it and they can resist. So I know this is by Grant Cardone, which is quite a controversial figure out there, but there you go. Desperation is a tone, not a sentence. Silence is a tool. So the void, right? That's something that, again, Chris Voss goes over and Never Split the Difference. So the void, what it means is essentially, say I've asked quite a touchy subject or a big question to the prospect. For example, what does your budget look like for the next 6 months? That's something that is quite a personal question, but we need to learn to sit in the silence, sit in the awkwardness of that question. If we're consistently, waiting a second or two and then preemptively saying, oh, we can talk about this later, we don't need to ask you this question now, that comes across as if we're not even caring about them and we're simply just looking for a quick close or a quick commission or something like that. We need to really wait and let them speak. The void can be so powerful if used correctly. Speaking slowly equals confidence. Speaking fast typically means that the person is nervous, right? And it comes across on cold calls quite easily. And again, this is something that I've learned as well over time. If you can learn the ability to slow a call down, the person on the other end will also start to slow the call down. If you're talking quite fast, like, hey, my name's Sartik, I'm calling from X, Y, and Z, and we're looking to do, the person on the other end is going to be like, what did you even say? Like, I'm sorry, I didn't understand any of that. If you open it with, hey, my name is Sartik, and I'm calling from X, Y, and Z, and this is why I need your time today to speak for 30 seconds or whatever the pitch might be, they will take you more seriously. They will have that as a more of an assertive and confident tone, and they'll notice that. Your voice must say, I don't need you. Right? In that sense, we're not looking to close a deal right away anyways, as setters or as SDRs. It's not our job to do that, right? We want to make sure that the person understands, I don't need you, I have plenty of deals in my pipeline, you're just one of the people that I wanted to contact because I thought you might fit within our ICP. The person who needs nothing can negotiate anything, right? By Chris Voss again. This guy, his book, taught me a lot. I really, really think that it's a great read for anyone in sales. Human behavior, so the different patterns I've seen across calls. Fast answers typically mean that they're busy and we should keep it short and sharp. If they're giving you a fast answer, right, we want to make sure that we're tailoring the conversation around them as well. If they're being like, look, I don't have time, this is something that's top of mind, but not right now. We want to essentially try and get them to either book a meeting right then and there, like either a coffee chat or, like a 20-30 minute call with an AE. Alternatively, send them an email with some information so you made a touch point regardless, and you can call them back to follow up on that email. Now, pauses mean thinking. We don't want to interrupt. Again, going back to the void that I spoke about earlier by Chris Voss, this is something that's very important. If you've given someone a question and they're thinking about it, let them think, right? I know when we're on the phone, it's a bit hard to notice sometimes because you're not in a face-to-face conversation, but you need to be able to pick up on the cues and have the EQ to know that. If they over explain, that means interest is high. Pretty self-explanatory on that one. If people are, over explaining, there's clearly an interest, they have a vested interest in this, whether it's their manager telling them to do it or whatever it is, this person wants to go ahead with this and you book a meeting with them. If you don't book a meeting with someone that's over explaining, then I don't know what went wrong in that call. Now, softening the tone can increase rapport as well. People, again, going back to being confident, going back to not putting pressure on people. If we're being soft and we're asserting calm dominance, it's a lot more easier for them to actually understand that as well. They're listening to your energy, not your exact words. We want to make sure that we're giving away our energy as quite receptive, good listeners and that sort of thing, rather than someone who's just trying to get the script out and see what they have to say against that. Humans respond to calm dominance, right? Using those downward inflecting tones is so important in sales, especially across B2B sales. I've learned that through doing both B2C and B2B now, and B2B, it's so prevalent. Now, going into the last section, so mindset, the mental game that makes calling easier. I know it's something that you might be starting, or maybe it's something you've already started and you're doing right now. I completely get, right? The mindset is so important to take care of it, whether it's, training well, eating well, these sorts of things outside of it. But we want to make sure that we're detaching from the outcome. If our only objective is to book a meeting and get a commission, it's not the right mindset, because you're going to go to every call with that same load, I guess, in a sense. We want to make sure that we're going to the calls more curious, really looking out for the prospect and seeing if they're even going to be a good quality person to speak to over time. If not, don't worry about it. Move on. There's always another person to call. We want to focus on our effort, not the outcomes, by James Clear, the guy who wrote Atomic Habits, right? So it's very important to focus on just our input, right? How many calls are you making in a day? Can you do that consistently over a week, a month, a year? If you can't do that and you can't keep it up, lower the number. If you can do more, increase it. Your input will determine your output. I know that there's lots of sales organizations out there that'll do the law of averages, right? Where they'll have, if you made 100 calls and you booked one meeting, that's your average. You're going to make 200 calls, you're going to book 2 meetings. It's very important that we're focusing on those numbers and those stats. To be honest with you, it really, really works. No one call matters at all, right? We don't want to make sure that we're repenting on one call. It's the worst thing to be a part of. I know it happens to everyone. So you've been slammed on a call, or you've had a really good call go, and then the person is no longer interested because their manager said no, or whatever it might be. We don't want to let that affect us. Now, a bad call, as I said, does not equal a bad day. Just don't let that take you down. Don't let that ruin your morale. Take a breather, go for a 10-minute walk, come back, have some water, and go back at it again. We need to celebrate the reps, not the results. It's so important to make sure you're celebrating the fact that you hit 100 calls in a day. And the results will come. Like, it's all a matter of relying on the averages. And if you're doing the right things, the right behaviors, it will come over time. Your job is to discover, not to convince, right? We're looking to be curious. We're not looking to be someone who's persuasive. That's at least not my sales style. I like to be more consultative and take that approach rather than someone who's just, shoving it down someone's throat. It's not the best approach. And lastly, the best salespeople are the best listeners. So we need to be able to listen. And on calls, typically, if you have like a 70-30 split, 30% you talking, 70% them talking, most of the time that leads to a meeting. If not a meeting, a coffee catch up at a minimum, or you have a follow-up. That person will understand why you're calling. They feel heard. That's the most important part. They know that you have their priorities at number one, and it's not that you're looking to just make a quick commission. Thanks for listening.